Hey guys, it's Nolen and Jason here with Plumbing Webmasters.
Howdy.
So today it's Plumber Reviews, Reputation and Ranking, DataPins, the must-have tool.
Oh.
Okay, and this is going to be better than just the self-promotion of DataPins. People are going to understand why and what is happening with their marketing online.
Right.
As I continually strive to explain on these things, after the horrifying realization of decades that people don't understand marketing at all. So hopefully people here are on their path, as you put it, to enlightenment and somewhere on that journey.
Right.
And so I want to start out with I guess a portion of this that J-Man was talking about, and it's a realization, or really, I guess we knew this kind of, but there's been a report that came out basically showing that half of all keyword clicks to a website are from keywords that aren't trackable or tracked.
Right.
And they're not tracked because there's not individually enough search volume.
Well, they're not tracked on paid tools.
Correct.
Right. Like if you're looking for keywords to use for pay-per-click advertising, these won't show up.
That's right.
And in fact, if you try to do Google Ads, a lot of times they won't even let you try to bid on these because they're so low value.
Considered low search volume.
Yeah, they're considered low value for pay-per-click.
I still don't understand why they do that, because they would take, and what I'm about to say is going to blow people's mind, because they're like, well, why do I care? It's like, you care because it's 50% of clicks.
Right.
So 50% of clicks, and this is important to understand this, because it's so stinking valuable to the plumber or to whoever. So half of all clicks are valuable to the person getting them, but for whatever reason, low search volume. So you check this on SEMrush and other tools too, and it literally won't show them.
Yeah, it'll literally say no appreciable volume or something.
But
like
you'll
that.
see these come through your Google Analytics, and it's half of all your clicks.
And you'll see them on the Search Console readout too.
Well, it is already half of all clicks, but on a local level, people aren't partaking in these clicks.
Right.
So DataPins allows somebody to partake in all these clicks. For this reason, most people miss the boat on local, or miss half the boat on local marketing for their local business, plumbers included.
Right.
And so I'll give some examples of this and where these come into play, but then I'll explain what DataPins is. But I want to explain this. So we're going to talk about why DataPins is so important, where all these clicks come from, and how they can partake in it. But someone right now does not have inherent within their site these long tail keyword terms at all.
Right.
And so the percentage that comes from, say, map ranking, for example, which is still part of organic search, which we'll talk about, but meaning the map doesn't show up without a page of content associated with it.
Right. The map ranking is achieved through organic optimization.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Some of those keywords could originate because it's primary keywords of a category, and by default it has the potential to show up.
Right.
Although even those keywords wouldn't show up well if they didn't have good representative content.
Yeah, unless you were maybe next door to the address or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. So they might get a tiny bit of support. That's why somebody, by the way, will have a website up and they have lots of reviews, but their map doesn't show up because they have such poor quality representative content on the website.
Right.
But beyond a primary keyword, which is actually a little bit less than the majority, the long tails have the potential to make the map show up much, much more, and all the long tail keywords underneath the map and everything else, which can be more than the amount of the map ranking. So let's go into all that. All right. So a little bit more. So I get calls all the time, talk to people all the time, say, Nolen, I got a website and I got a Google map and I got that thing they call SEO done. So, but seriously,
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I've
heard it too.
that's my stone that I roll up the mountain every day and it rolls back down over my head.
Okay, whose story are you referencing? Do you know the name?
I have trouble with my tongue saying this, but I think it's Sisyphus.
Very good.
Sisyphus.
Nolen's getting culture.
I had some sort of palate issue. I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, Sisyphus is hard to say.
It's hard for me to say.
It's all sibilants.
But yeah, the pushing of
sibilants. Sorry.
But what?
I said sibilants, and it's sibilants.
What was that? Was that from a movie or something?
Sibilants, you probably remember it from Tom Hanks on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
When Aerosmith showed up on the Wayne's World cable
that
access
was
show.
That was
Tom Hanks came out as the mic check going, sibilants, sibilants,
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, sibilants.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So people call every day and they get this part of it wrong, and we talk about it. Like, I have this stuff, but it doesn't show up. I said, but you don't have it done well enough. There's not enough good signaling. And by the way, inherent within all this, you don't show up because, you don't have this stuff. You could show up more. And then so people will call up looking for paid, but haven't even come close to tapping the 70%, which is organic.
Right.
So over 80% of people go to Google, and of the people that are there, over 70% click on a non-paid item. And people have grossly underestimated the amount of times the non-paid stuff or the organic or what they know as SEO can show up, or the mapping, which is obviously SEO related, and they're not aware of that either.
Right.
So, okay, so let's talk about what DataPins does. So I'll describe the features and the functionality, and then why that matters and how those signals relate to organic optimization.
Okay.
Most people have a website and it's got 5 or 10 pages that aren't optimized and it's never worked on. And then most plumbers have a GBP or Google business profile. I've been talking about the various names of it recently, and it's messed me up. Yeah,
Google Local, Google My Business,
Google Places.
It was Google Places before Google My Business, right?
I don't remember, honestly. It's called Google Business Profile to plumbers. It's just y'all's map.
Right.
It's also referred to as the knowledge graph in the industry.
Right.
So, and y'all want it to pop up all the time, and you guys think that it's the only show there is. In reality, it's less than half if done properly, meaning you'll get more on the mapping, and the organic non-mapping stuff will expand greatly, but the map won't show up in the first place without content properly. All right, so let's say why. So if the website's built and it had 5 or 10 pages, but it gets rebuilt and it has 30 or 40, then it properly lists the plumber's categories, because they don't know.
And by the way, a bullet list is not proper. If you've got to say we do plumbing services and you list in a bullet list the stuff you do, that's not adequate.
It's not adequate for a proper user experience, and Google will not show your map to the user because they might not see the bullet list. But if they see a page for, say, tankless water heaters, then they'll show it, and they won't guess you do tankless water heaters, nor will a bullet point be good enough to represent that for a good user experience, meaning your map won't show up well or at all.
Right.
Okay, so let's use tankless water heaters as an example. And well, first off, let me finish that line of thought. So if you do trenchless, if you do tunneling, if you do leak locating or camera line scoping, or toilet repair or garbage disposal repair, or plumbing pumps or types of pumps, grinder pumps, lift station pumps, etc., you'll need pages for all those things.
Right.
The pumps possibly, because it's a subcategory, might be able to list multiple ones on one pages with like 50 words each or something, but again, not a bullet list.
Right.
It'd have to get moderately obscure to be able to be not represented with its own page.
Right.
Now, obscure might be a grinder pump, but I would argue that in a larger market, a shutoff valve needs its own page because there's many types of shutoff valves like many types of pumps.
Right.
Okay, so.
And here's the thing, let's say right now you're showing up for that.
Yeah.
And you don't have a whole page for it, if someone else comes along and puts up a site that has a whole page for it, Google's going to prefer them.
Yeah.
So you're better off doing it and kind of future-proofing your efforts.
If I'm in Dallas, Texas, I'm going to have pages for types of pumps.
Yeah.
And a page for, if I'm in, I don't know, a town of 20,000, I might have one page for the pumps, all listed with 50 words each.
Right.
So, but that's the difference in the content. But the content's going to have to be pretty strong. If it got too low of search volume, I wouldn't want to overdo the pages. Oddly, in some smaller areas, like I might do a lot of more, like 20 city pages is requirement. But if I'm in Dallas, I don't need city pages because I'm going for the keyword of Dallas, and the plumber doesn't reach outside of there anyway, doesn't need it.
Dallas alone has enough business to support it.
Yeah, correct. The guy in the smaller town, in some ways, might actually need more pages, but those would be related to like city pages because he needs to expand organic properly through that. But okay, so the guy's got all of his pages now. He's got 25 services, and he's got a page for each of them. And he either does or doesn't have city pages. And now the website's 30 to 40 pages. And instead of having extra content that's trash, complete trash, so say he has a 40-page website, he's got, let's say that he has 45-page website. He's got 20 city pages, 5 pages, home about us, contact us, 20 service pages, 20 city pages, and 5 pages of the site.
Right.
It's a 45-page site, and it's all sitting there, but now everything's stagnant, and the content found within each page is moderately general, but this guy's in a town of 250,000 people. So there's a little bit of search traffic, let's say 500,000. There's quite a bit of search traffic going on for all these category topics, and it really expands greatly beyond that. So let's say that the plumber is got a tankless water heater page, and he really loves water heaters, which almost all of them
do. They all do.
Yeah, and he'd love to show up when somebody types in Renai tankless, or I can't remember. There's Navian, Renai, and so. But he'd love to show up for these different brands if anybody typed in anything. But Google doesn't know. So Google's like, let's say that
Google knows he does tankless water heater. They don't know every brand he services,
and they don't know all the parts that he does, and all the other stuff. And there's a lot of things that happens with these tankless water heaters. But they go use DataPins, and now we'll discuss the features of DataPins. And in this market of 500,000 people, 100 other plumbers also have a tankless water heater page. Now, if they didn't have the tankless water heater page, just to repeat this so everybody understands it, they probably would not show up for the PAC3 mapping because there'd be no user relevant information to see, and it'd be a poor user experience.
Yeah.
But now they have it, so they're more likely to show up in PAC3 mapping, and they wouldn't show up in organic under the mapping, or if the map didn't show up. So the stuff that clicks through the website, because there's nothing to click on at all. So no user experience and no knowledge of Google even knowing that you provide the service.
Yeah, you haven't told Google you do that.
Yeah.
So why would they show you?
So now you have it, and now 100 other people have it. You're much better off. You've used Plumbing Webmasters. You've got all this stuff set up. They're more likely to see you and get regular call volume for the various keywords that exist in the universe of keywords, which are millions of things and at least thousands and thousands for a plumber.
Yeah, every different way of saying tankless water heater, every rearrangement, every misspelling, it's all tracked.
All a keyword, and really I don't know how many there are in the entity and genre of things that are within plumbing, but it's probably.
Last time we went to a conference, I think they said it was up to 19 billion.
Total keywords?
Total keywords that they're.
So just with a plumber, there's probably tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe hundreds of thousands just with the plumber. But so now you have this page and you use DataPins. I always like to say a 12-year-old can use it or an 80-year-old could use it. It takes 90 seconds. You pull your phone up, you've taken a couple of pictures of the tankless water heater. You open up DataPins, you tag 1 to 6 of those photos, and you write, just replaced a Renai tankless water heater. Tum, 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 tum. You type in the client's cell phone number, and then pick your tankless water heater page that's right there in the city you're in, and you hit pin. And it's done. It's
right.
It's 90 seconds, and
you have participated in DataPins.
You have participated, and it was very, very simplistic, but it was extremely robust with what just happened. Immediately, the pin grabs the geocoordinate from where the phone is located, drops a red pin drop, immediately wraps it in a program code called Schema, which looks like a digital hand raise is saying, hey, we were here.
Right.
Joe's Plumbing was here, please recognize.
It says to Google, this is a service check-in, meaning services were performed at this location. This is a geographic coordinates. This is a photo of what was done. And here's a text description of what we did.
The text, replaced Renai tankless water heater.
Right.
It was like 4 or 5 words. And so that automatically, the geo-coordinate validates a service being done. Now, you might have 20 reviews in an area. We're going to relate this back to the Google map. And Google sees the 20 reviews, but you've done 225 jobs.
Right.
Google now sees and has validation of all 225 jobs. They read the geo-coordinate wrapped in schema. Looks like a red pin drop to you, but very clearly looks like a digital hand raise of validation.
Yeah.
We feel let's say 200 jobs, easy math. We feel 10 times better with you, Joe, than we used to.
With just the 20 reviews.
With just the 20 reviews.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us know this in this code base with schema that we specifically allowed for someone to perform this validation of services.
Not only did they specifically allow, they specifically sit on the board of the consortium that manages schema
Boom.
and want people to use it. They helped create it for this very purpose.
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't?
They sit on the board of the consortium.
Yeah, they're part of the group that developed schema.
Wow.
And they have told it, and Google doesn't tell us a lot.
Right.
They try not to tell us much. And so if they say anything to us directly, we pay attention.
Okay.
And they said, we want schema.
Wow. So schema's got thousands and thousands of digital points that helps Google parcel data better.
Right.
Or see data at all.
Yeah.
Right. And so before schema, they had to look at, I can't remember all of it, but it was much more rudimentary determining of what's in a website. In fact,
semantic markup.
Markup.
And semantic markup.
We never use it anymore. We never use the term. We talk about schema.
Because semantic markup is, like you said, it's rudimentary now.
Right.
Because it used to be that every part of a website had a very basic tag. It was div for division, and that's what broke up the code,
header, a footer,
and everything.
Yeah.
And now there's an HTML tag, a semantic tag for header, footer, main content, everything you do in there. But that doesn't, other than pieces of a website, that doesn't contextualize it beyond that. Like you can't say the stuff in a pin, for instance.
Right.
There's no semantic markup that will tell them service check-in, photo of service, location, and relevant description.
They had to guess at everything from body content to the logo.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel uncomfortable with the data if they had better data available.
Right.
So for like DataPins has multiple points of schema in it. Plumbing Webmasters websites we built for clients has over 100 points of schema delineated so that Google can feel more comfortable with the plumber.
Yeah. And some people will tell you, well, schema's not a ranking factor because Google has said that. And it's important to understand what that phrase means. What that means is Google doesn't look at your site and if it has schema, they say, oh, you get a point. That's when someone says direct ranking factor, that's what they mean. But that doesn't mean it doesn't affect ranking, because what happens is if you have the same two sites and one has schema breaking all this out and one doesn't, what it means is that, as you said, the one with schema, Google is more comfortable with how it has interpreted that data. Right. And that will help it rank better because they understand, the algorithm better understands how to contextualize the data that it's seeing.
This may be more than somebody wants to hear a little bit.
Sorry.
But I
can go into this.
No, this is fascinating. Somebody needs to understand it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if somebody's listening and glazing over it all on any of this, you need to hear this and get your brain acclimated with understanding this conceptual stuff about why your brand will show up. Because, again, to repeat, over 80% of people go to Google to look for you, and while there, over 50% are clicking on non-paid items, and those non-paid items...
No, 70% on non-paid items. 50% on long-tail keywords.
What did I say? 50?
You said 50% on
I'm sorry, over 70% on the non-paid items, aka organic, aka SEO, aka search engine optimization.
Right.
That is, and those are the better leads, the cheaper leads, and where your business profits and makes money. The reason we harp on it and why I own a different company that owns DataPins is because this is where we're able to maintain a client. And I ponder on this too much, but it's like I'm more ethical hands down, than almost anybody's going to find to do the stuff that you taught to, because we actually practice what we preach, have the services, have the company, have the software, and we don't sell, and we don't ram paid down someone's throat because it costs hundreds and hundreds of percent more, which typically tends to make a client agitated.
Yeah.
When
Google
unhappy.
hits their credit card 4 times a month for that week's spend.
Yeah, and statistically, someone will stay with a Google paid account for a year, a Facebook account for 6 months, and an SEO account, if done well, which almost nobody can do besides us and maybe a couple of people, they'll stay with that for years and years.
Yeah, we have clients on the books that have been with us since 2012.
Yeah, because the organic works,
Right.
and because we continually innovate things like DataPins.
Nolen Walker here for DataPins. You may not know, but I own a software company, and we have a proprietary software called DataPins, DATAPINS. You can search it at datapins.com. This is not white labeled. I actually own this piece of software, and I made it for you. It was made for contractors. You can actually take pictures of jobs, up to 6, make a caption about the material, the brand, the situation, the repairs, and post that back to your individual pages on your website, just like that. It's super simple. Anyone could use it. It also texts and emails your clients direct links to your reviews, so it helps reputation and reviews, which helps conversion and map placement. The geo coordinate gets grabbed by DataPins, and Google can tell where you are. So instead of them just seeing reviews, they see all jobs or even estimates that you do. This vastly outperforms just getting reviews. Helps the map show up, helps organic keywords, and remember, those captions that you're putting in there help expand the keywords per page, and it's great regular content. I love it. We made it just for you. It is organic optimization on steroids for both your website, your rankings, and the map placement. Check out DataPins. I think you'll be happy you did.
So let's talk about the nature of what I got off on there just a little bit, but how somebody shows up, why they show up.
I think we were looping back to long tail keywords and how DataPins gets you those.
It's so valuable because they're not even done. So even without you having the long tails on your website, 50% of search is the long tails that aren't tracked.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a plumber in a market, those plumbers aren't getting any of those.
Yeah.
So
you a lot of you guys have probably had an SEO company say to you something like, well, what 10 or 15 words do you want to show up for? These are the words we're going to focus on. I talked to a client the other day that he had talked to a different company, and they said, well, this 3 months we're going to go for these 5 words, and then 3 months later we're going to go for these. And I said, so what they just told you is they're not going to bother with a bunch of your words for the first 6 months?
Right.
And he stopped because he hadn't thought about it that way. I said, we'll go for everything we can get you from day 1, number 1.
Yeah.
And we'll also go for long tails. And you made the point in another discussion that people will say, well, what's the search volume on that long tail keyword? And you'll say, oh, it's low. And they'll be like, aha, gotcha.
No, you
I was
don't.
like, no, because there are thousands of those.
So there's thousands of words inherent within proper content.
Right.
And what I mean by that, and when somebody calls and says that someone talked to them about 20 words, I mean, when we are like, oh my God, if one page of content's written about plumbing pumps, the one page written well, if it's this might be like a longer page, 600 words or something, 750 words, it might show up for hundreds of keywords, the one page, if done well. If somebody's talking about a dozen words or 24 words, you won't get many clicks because of multiple reasons. Because there's not enough content written, for starters, to show much. And then when a site's worked on like that, it isn't relevant to user intent very much, only to the tune of a few dozen words.
Right.
So if the site's written and it has 400 words a page and has 40 words, it immediately has this inherent value to show up for thousands of words or hundreds of words. We'll talk about thousands when we get to that. So if somebody's on DataPins and they're at tankless water heater and they wrote this in. That's where I go back to. We'll go back to Tinker's water heater page. They had the 400-word general page that was written well by us,
Right.
but it was general nature. But as the plumber and the plumbers reps are out there, contractors start talking about Renai and Navian and parts and situations, then that page becomes more technical in nature and expands greatly the amount of keywords it can show up for.
Right.
And it's validating its work over and over and over again. So compare it to the other 100 plumbers in town. Just as a comparison, let's assume that there's 100 pages. If you type in tankless water heater repair Orlando FL as the keyword, Google's going to show 100,000, a million examples, but Google knows the user intent is to reach a local plumber because they put the word repair in it,
Right.
or install or replace. So that immediately tells Google the user intent, which is geo-targeted over here inside the Orlando metro area, is to show them local people that can get their tankless water heater repair. And then within that is like a million people searching all the time, or how many ever. And then they are looking for various keywords around it. And Google knows that those 100 plumbers are the most relevant thing. And so they're more likely to see the page content, and they're more likely to see the keywords. Now, the guy that's there, that's our client, let's say, that has tagged it, pinned it 100 times. And let's say that on average, I know my example was 5 words, but let's say it's 10 words on average on the
description.
On the description. He now has moved from 400 words to 1,400 words over the course of a year or two.
Right.
So now let's say 2 years later, every so often, every week, this guy has put one pin up every week for 100 weeks. And Google sees relevant content that's slightly different, that's validating with a digital hand raise. It's very hard to falsify.
That has keywords that no one else is using, brand names, parts, whatever it is. It's I hate to use this term, but it's stuffed with keywords, but it's stuffed with keywords in a legitimate
way. Not like a blog that's trying to fake people out. Top 3 reasons to call us for tankless water heaters in Orlando.
Yeah, it's literally a brief description of a job you just did that doesn't have to be any longer than that to get the point across.
Right.
And Google recognizes that. This guy did a service check-in in this location, replaced, what was that brand name you used?
Renai tankless water heater.
Renai tankless water heater. You told them everything they needed to know. You answered the question, what you did and where you did it.
Unique photos that count as unique content.
Right.
That no one's ever seen before, that are probably validating that. They're seeing this one page out of 100 pages, and they're like, who are we going to show for a tankless water heater repair, or tankless water heater replace, or tankless water heater install, but much less Renai or Navian or the parts and all the other crud that goes wrong with them. And you're saying people don't type them in. No, statistically 50% of the time
they do.
It's a long tail keyword.
Yeah.
Now you're the only guy in this entire town that ever even does this stuff. And you're getting 50% of clicks that weren't even available to anybody before, because nobody goes in to do this stuff properly, which is the brilliance of DataPins.
Right.
Part of the brilliance. Part of the other brilliance is we were here, and you want to show up good on your mapping. Well, now the 20 reviews gets compounded by 200 times, because not everybody leaves a review. It's probably more like 250 reviews, really. So you got 25 times more stuff going on validation of hand raises with the schema signaling,
right?
Geo coordinates, and that makes the map show up, which is backed up and more likely to show up by proper content. But then on top of that, the organic has mushroomed into this beautiful thing of 400 words going to 1,400 words with a technical aspect spin that no writer, even they're trying to do a good job, would have any idea what that plumber's out there doing.
Right.
But let's go into...
Because they're not plumbers, they're writers.
Why the heck would anybody type in Navian or Renai or the parts or all this stuff? They type it in because they got a bid, or they have the problem, or they're searching for this stuff.
Or they opened their utility closet and saw the name on the side of the machine.
It's expensive. They want to find out, and you're showing up for just hordes and hordes and hordes of things. Like I had an example of one, so I'll come back to this page. I want to talk about the blog content for just a second, the 1,400 words. But we have a client that has a page for shutoff valve. I wouldn't normally do a shut-off valve in a town of 50,000 maybe, but this guy's in a town of 1 million. And so we have a page that was shut-off valve. And we did it for items that were related to user intent. Shut-off valve repair, shut-off valve replace, shut-off valve install. So if you typed in any of those actionable words with shut-off valve in the city, he was already number one. But he had done a pin that was, I think it was along the lines of replaced the ice maker shut-off valve and supported it. And so he got into stuff, I don't know if people type in supported it or not, but it is probably in the entity of keywords that are related to the category of plumbing.
Yeah, it's related in some way.
So Google knows this is valuable content. We don't need to get off into all of the stuff there's stuff called entity and latent semantic indexing. And when you're talking in a technical manner, adding valuable content that I'll go ahead and relate back to this now. It is not bullshit content. People call us up and say, I need content. Okay, slow down. Like, what kind of content do we need? Or, I want blogging.
I need 2 blogs a week.
Yeah, it's like, no, you don't. Blogging is complete garbage. For a contractor cannot possibly do good enough blogs to show.
Right.
The owner, if the owner could do them, let's hypothetically could do them, the owner automatically always seems to want to write spammy blogs. Every once in a while we'll write a brilliant blog about something, but does he really need to be wasting his time doing this stuff? So this guy wrote this simple thing, and just him talking about supported it, which I think just means he stuck a little L-iron strap on it and screwed it to the wall, and so that it wouldn't move around, because I'm assuming that's probably why it broke.
Yeah,
because it was all loose.
Probably, and
like our faucet in here.
Someone else may encounter that problem.
They might, but Google knows that the word supported it was valuable, interesting technical content around the category. Right. Which is only going to be found by people utilizing DataPins. We spent over $1 million developing DataPins. I think we're over $1.25 million now. But it was done with this in mind, because we cannot do this type of unique data in here, unique coordinates on GPS and keywords, and of course photos. Yeah. And then it also shoots the information back to the Google Business Profile, back to the websites, back to the individual pages, to the client for text and email. Now Google sees this and they're like, oh man, we didn't know his name's Jordan Mulberg.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they said, man, Jordan, we didn't know that you worked on ice maker shut-off valves. So the plumber, they're like, well, no,
that opened up a whole new entity on your tracking. Yeah.
Damn, Google, you should have known that. No, Google doesn't know that you work on ice maker shut-off valves.
Google doesn't make a lot of assumptions, unless the only caveat is if you were in a market and there was not a single person talking about ice maker shut-off valves. Right. Then they would show plumbers, because that would be the closest result they would have. Maybe, yeah. But if one guy said, I work on ice maker shut-off valves, then all of a sudden that guy's number one.
Yeah, so this guy wasn't anywhere to be found for an ice maker shut-off valve. Obviously, there's a lot of different types of shut-off valves. Yeah. And he's in a major market of 1 million people, and I think this one is like a really good example for why this stuff's so valuable. About 6 months later, he does two more pins about an ice maker shut-off valve. And one can pretty safely deduce that is only because he then began to show up for an ice maker shut-off valve. So he got a general call about a shut-off valve. Who knows if they typed in the word plumber or whatever, but he pinned it to the proper page in the website that was relevant to the category, because you can't just dump it. People will do something similar to DataPins sometimes and dump it on a gobbledygook page or in the ether, like it's not even
on just a general page.
It's not even the website by some of these some jokers.
Yeah, some of them are on a third-party site or something like that.
And they can't show that to the end user because they can't show a pile of garbage content. Right. But when it's related directly, then they can. And then all of a sudden he's number one for ice maker shut-off valve, and he does 2 more jobs in the next year off of that extremely obscure thing. Right. And a plumber does like hundreds and hundreds of things, if not thousands of combinations of oddities and repairs and situations and brands and parts.
Yeah.
And
And you multiply those 2 jobs by 2,000, 3,000 long tail keyword combinations.
every year,
Yeah.
it equals daily call volume.
Right.
It equals winning the war because of all the little battles. I mean, when our clients do this properly and they type in stuff in a market, you'll see our clients show up thousands of times. You'll see other guys show up dozens of times, and then their site will fall away because they don't have the content.
Right.
You know, and it's insane how many times and what shows up.
Nolen Walker here with Plumbing Webmasters. I'd like for you to consider becoming a client. You know, we have a lot of great people that work here at the company. We help hundreds of clients. We've done this for 12 years now. We help clients dominate online. We're a digital marketing agency. I honestly don't think there's anyone better than us at this point in time. We'll help you with your design, your code, your content. We'll help you rank on Google Maps. We'll help you reputation reviews organically. We even have proprietary software that I own in a different company called DataPins, DATAPINS. DataPins allows you to post pictures of jobs with captions and geo coordinates right onto the website. It'll take 90 seconds. A 12-year-old could use it, but you'll be able to post daily and get daily activity, great content. It even posts it back to your Google account. It even texts and emails the client. So one simple thing where you pick a couple of photos you took, wrote a caption, put in the client's cell phone number and hit pin, and boom. And then that is in addition to all the other things that we do for you for SEO. We can also help with paid ads and other things too. But man, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. You can check us out at plumbingwebmasters.com.
We'll still write a blog to do like 2 or 3 just so we can get a press release and some links to the internal pages.
Yeah.
It's a marketing tactic that works well, but we won't continue to write blogs because it literally will cause a penalty and or not even be cached as trash content from Google.
Yeah, what he's talking about is, not a lot of people know this, is if you have, like, you start off with the site he's talking about, 40 pages, and then you start doing a blog every week or 2, like some people have demanded 2 blogs a week. Well, that ends up being over 100 pages a year. And so 2 years later, you've got 200 pages. Now, the chances are most of those blogs get almost no views. And Google looks at your whole site and they say, man, this site has a lot of pages that nobody wants to look at.
Trash.
This site must suck.
Yeah. And you begin to get penalized.
Yeah, so quantity without quality is worthless. And it's almost impossible to blog that often about a narrow subject matter.
So if somebody calls us and becomes a new client and has 200 plus pages, let's say 250 page site, almost assuredly that's usually blog trash.
Yeah.
We go through and can check the traffic on the pages, and probably 150 of those pages aren't trafficked at all or even cached anymore. Google just dropped them off.
Yeah, they just forgot they exist, essentially.
Yeah, they've already received some algorithmic penalty out of it. We go through and clean it up, do an SEO overhaul, add proper pages back in, take it down to, let's say, an 89 page site, and the other stuff gets redirected and pulled out.
Yeah.
And then it corrects and begins to be a helpful site again. When people add DataPin content, it may have added 1,000 words to a page in a paginated format, but it's proper, unique content, well done, nice technical stuff inside the same page.
Right.
So, and that newest information is always hitting up top, but all of it gets cached and then has the ability to show up on that page, and it'll go back to it even if that DataPin was like 50 or 100 ago.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the numbers here. Like, somebody can come in and have like a couple hundred clicks organically, so many impressions on a GBP on their map, and they can have like, I'm going to try to do this to where I can do the math easily. So they can have half of those as non-map organic, clicking their website, and half of those as map organic. That would be an average scenario. As a client comes with us and gets many, many, many more keywords inherent through content properly done with the aid of DataPins and technical knowledge from the people within the company, which is horribly simplistic. And by the way, there's a desktop version of this too.
Yeah.
90 seconds, but the information spewing from the technical person's head is unique in the marketplace and never even been had before.
Right.
So they move from a 50-50 scenario and now move up to 1,000 clicks. And out of the 1,000 clicks, and guys, this is like, this is where I think people miss it. So I'm going to do just quick numbers on it. They'll move from 30% mapping to 70% organic, non-mapping, because of the vast array of inherent keywords within content aided by DataPins with a properly done web effort with proper SEO continuation, which we provide here at an excellent deal. I might say that one of the best in the industry, and there's nobody beats us. So, and they say, well, wait a minute, I lost map ranking. No, you have 30% map ranking and 70% organic.
You actually have better map ranking than you had before.
Right. So if they go up to 1,000, now instead of having 100 off of mapping, they have 300. Let's just call it, clicks to action on it instead of impressions, because it'd be much, much higher than that.
Yeah.
So they were getting, 100 clicks to action on the map. Now they're getting 300, but the organic is 700. It was 100. It
Right.
expanded vastly, greatly due to all this, and people miss this part of it. And in this structure, I'm glad we went over. I'm glad Jake recommended this as a discussion topic.
Yeah.
In this structure is where the beauty of SEO expands, and it is where a client of ours experiences greatness and cheap leads and great ROI and net profits on it. And it is the boat that is entirely missed, what we call the Google, the big show.
The big show.
It's where they miss the whole damn thing. And so somebody going along, getting a few hundred clicks split between mapping and organic is missing out so much. Why did the map go from 100 calls to action to 300? Because the proper content helped it expand more, along with the proper branded signaling, helping Google feel more comfortable, such as the geo coordinate being wrapped in schema and validating work makes them push this stuff.
And
up
organic will always expand your mapping. If your organic
Right.
expands, your mapping will expand.
Reputation reviews, the emails and the text to get more reviews, and combined with the digital hand raises of the geo coordinates and the pins makes the map show up more. And then the great expansion of content through the DataPins captions and pictures and geo coordinates has that expand exponentially. And in fact, 50% of stuff, for one thing, these guys don't have their content written out properly on the websites anyway.
Almost never.
And almost never. And then we add that, and then you add in the content from the pins, and it blows up on an exponential manner and gives them a business basis for organic and sustainability and net profit on those types of better leads and branding that they've never had.
I like to tell people that the effort they put in on the pins supercharges all the good work we've done.
Yeah.
But it takes the good pages we've written and gigs them even higher.
I wish that they'd all listen to this, because if we have a lot of clients that use DataPins properly now.
Yeah.
A lot more than we used to when we first started it a few
It was an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Adoption was slow.
If they understood this explanation of it, they would all just use it daily. We have many clients that use it properly. It's explanation of a service, of a part of a situation, like replacing an ice maker shutoff valve and supporting it. But things get much more technical than that, and Google can tell the quality of the data. And that's something that I hadn't really started considering until recently, because we keep talking about Google understanding, we talk about synonyms, somebody, good, better, best or something, but Google's so far beyond that on a category, which you're as a plumber, but they consider you an entity, and then they bucket the entire genre of words around the category and call it an entity. And then things that are technical and well described around that are given credibility as they spider and see signaling in the content within the website. So
Right.
it's just, when you're talking about stuff, it just when a client can do that on an organic basis through a caption, even though those captions are
For a 90-second effort.
yeah, it's really
The thing is that we've talked about it before, but the amount of things that get hit when they drop a pin the amount of
quality SEO, branded SEO.
yeah, the little points that Google likes to see that get popped in, and then the way that spiders out among the entity map and shows everything else is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, hundreds of percent improvement in Google mapping, even though that then becomes the lower percentage-wise, even though it's increased by hundreds of percent,
Right.
because of proper optimization of content within the website and proper structuring and setup of that in the first place. And what we see is really poorly done websites, almost no content. The pages inside the sites then never get worked on. They're not SEO'd and set up properly in the first place for the locale that they're in. And then the client thinks that they have all they can, or that no one will ever do it properly, and then embarks down the road of paid advertising or paid clicks. And
Which oftentimes is the goal of whoever did the site for them, because it's often, well, we've done the SEO, but to get serious clicks, you got to do paid. And that's going to cost you this much.
Right.
And that's going to grow every year.
And in case anybody listening wonders why they would do that, it's because they're inept at digital marketing from an organic optimization standpoint. They don't own software and data, and like, it's what we do for the organic side is a hard thing, but it's the most fruitful for the business relationship and the longest term able to survive. Now, the way that they do this because they are sales organizations, they're not actually skilled professionals.
They're not service providers.
Yeah, we're a skilled profession helping the client with their online marketing. These guys are sales organizations, and then they gig people by keeping in touch with them, calling them, getting them inflamed, or taking advantage of.
Like the guy I dealt with earlier today.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, if you've ever had if you've ever had a digital marketing agency attempt to get you angry at stuff, it's a tactic that we're seeing more and more.
Yeah.
But they don't understand it, and then they charge you for your SEO, which they don't actually do. And then they attempt to get more and more ad spend revenue, dollars spent on Google ads or Facebook and Instagram. And they talk about this as though it's some sort of great thing, but they're not actually helping you with your organic, which is where the majority of search and the best return comes. And then you get disillusioned as a plumber trying to jack with them, and then eventually quit. And then you think that the organic side doesn't work well, but it can and does. And then you get stuck in the loop of just spending money on it. If this is done properly, most of our clients don't have to spend money on pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Nolen Walker here for Roofing Webmasters. I want you to consider becoming one of our clients. We've done this for 12 years, have hundreds of clients. We help everybody with their design, their code, their content, showing up on Google as high as possible. Clients get regular call volume. If you've never experienced what I call the big show, showing up on Google organically, which is where the vast majority of the clicks occur, on your map, your reputation, your reviews, your organic keyword ranking, you owe it to yourself to try us. We even have proprietary software that we own called DataPins that lets you post pictures of jobs, unique captions that increase keywords and long tail keywords, your rankings on Google, text and emailing clients about reviews, even posting pins and photos and captions back to Google. All this helps your organic rankings. DataPins is fantastic, and the work we do here at Roofing Webmasters is fantastic. Please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
I mean, sometimes you might want to do paid if
There's
something
nothing wrong
happens.
with it.
Yeah, we
just
don't like
costs
to. Yeah, it just costs more.
Yeah.
It's not really something you want to get stuck doing all the time. Maybe if there's an event like a flood where you want to make sure that you get your share of all of the extra business that's going to come in.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it costs hundreds of percent more, and
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
damn shame that we see people that are buying and can only do that because they haven't been offered this or participated in it or understand it.
Right.
And so with DataPins applied to world-class proper digital marketing up front on an SEO organic effort, they would at least have better options and cash flow and return on the organic side of the SEO, and they may or may not choose to do the other stuff.
That's the thing. if you get your organic taken care of first, then you actually have the cash flow to fund a good, organized, focused paid effort.
Yeah.
But a broad paid effort where someone's trying to do,
It's tough.
like to try to do all of your, all your categories you want to capture on a paid campaign, that's just gonna put you out of business.
It's why I hope somebody listens to all this.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for these guys, and it's not always their fault. Sometimes they pay good money and they get completely screwed around by digital marketing professional people, supposed, and
The professionals doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
they never get to participate in what we call the big show. It's where the honey is. It's where the low-hanging fruit is. It's where the promised land is. It's where their legacy and hopes and dreams and stuff are, and they
Right.
just don't get it. And beyond DataPins, someone just needs to be thinking about their digital brand. Very little stuff for them to do on their end to make this great. It is not as complicated as somebody wants to make out. So all the stuff that we talked about is all done by us, except for the 90-second act that can be done on the phone or in the desktop version.
Yeah, keep that in mind. All of the weird arcane crap we've been talking
You got off in the weeds
it's
a little bit.
built
there, yeah.
into
But-
what we're doing,
but it
and
was
all we ask you to do is the little 90-second describe the job
Anybody
you just
can do it.
take a picture, describe the job you just did
Yeah.
each time,
and
and
it
we'll
grabs-
take care of everything else.
It grabs a geo coordinate unit in the client's cell phone. It shot out the text and email. It put it up to your Google business profile, your map. It put it on the website. It just what all that stuff. We've been programming that stuff to happen for years.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff is, but oddly, it's all extremely unique data because of the geo coordinate, the unique photos, and the caption that you entered. And then it shoots out to everything and does the rest of it. But it's handling reputational reviews. It's making the map show up. It's adding and expanding content. It's validating and raising your hand and making Google feel more comfortable showing you because you're validating work in your service area with legitimate bits of data to illustrate that. I mean, it's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, guys, I don't hype this like people do. People hype it like crazy.
We
Well-
hyped it. We talked about it like this when we first released it, like
We're
2 years
We're
ago.
too mellow
And we
about it.
backed off about it
Yeah.
because we're like, we're getting self-serving in our podcasts that are for our own marketing, which
Right.
is they're supposed to be.
Right.
and we kind of backed off. We haven't really gone into it in a long time.
It is what it is. I mean, it's where it's at. It needs to be done badly by everyone, and it is a massive competitive advantage because nobody has it unless they come through us on it.
Right.
I mean, it's just they're going to have a website that has massive signaling properly done compared to trash next to them. I was talking to a guy the other day too. I'll tell you, this is an interesting one. He said, well, I'm going to try to get up in ranking. I'm starting up a new plumbing business, and he was in some other sort of like restoration work or remediation stuff. And he said, I know I'm not going to get up there, but I at least want to give it a good fight. And I'm like, well, why are you making negative assumptions?
Why did you say you're not going to get
Yeah,
up there?
why are you, well, I see somebody with, one guy has 800, and I'm like, well, I said, well, one guy has 25, or 80 or something. And I'm like, why are you making negative narrative assumptions about what you can and cannot do as you're talking to me who owns the company that would be happy to discuss whether you can or cannot get up?
I tell you how to do it.
You're right. Right. So he's like, oh, and I was like, I don't like to hear negative talk. One, I said, two, yeah, you can get up in ranking. I said, and we talked about the nature of DataPins. I said, what if you got 20 reviews, 25 reviews, compared to this guy who has 80, who's already in pack 3, right, where you said you couldn't get up. And then you started digital signaling pins and geo coordinates wrapped in Schema, which is a digital hand raise that validates work in your service area, combined with photos and unique captions of work done on individual pages. And what about long tail keywords that can show up before the primaries that you think is the only thing you want? And he's like, oh, and I'm like,
And you can get 1,000 of those long tail keywords before
Yeah.
you can get 10 of the primaries.
correct.
And it will be greater traffic.
And it'll be
sales.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
people automatically, if they don't understand this, will hear, I get a little bit of a little, no, that is the majority of the search of the algorithm of
Right.
what people actually type into the search engine. People won't type it up. horse shit they do. They do it all the time. And by the way, all of this stuff is not only on article that somebody read here, it is validated inside your Google Analytics and obvious to show you.
Yeah,
Easy
you can look
to
at
show.
Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and you can see all those long tail keywords. You go into Search Console, say, give me an export of this, import it into a spreadsheet, and see it laid out, and you can see where people have put in
That keyword.
like a 7 word long string,
Right.
like 20 times in the past month or
Right.
something like that.
I mean, we can actually show it to you. I think when someone listens to stuff, they get lost. They go, "It's hard." No, it's not hard. It's not. It's calling us and getting started. It's using a simplistic program and beginning to get reviews. It's entering in 10 words of caption that isn't hard for you because you do it daily and just list parts, service, situation, brands. And then you're going to get up and beat the pants off of your competitors because they're remiss in what they do, and they're getting poor quality services, not using us, and you have advantage of something like DataPins. It's like an Uzi compared to their Derringer that they don't discharge, that is sitting in their pocket, not ever being used. It is. There's a scene in Harlem Nights with Eddie Murphy. They're going around. You don't remember Harlem Nights? They were like high end gangsters, doing good, and they were shooting up a house back. And one guy had I don't even remember what were the Tommy gun or whatever with the
rounds.
With the round.
Yeah,
is
that's
that what
Tommy
it was?
gun.
With a Tommy gun. They're like ta 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 ta, and one guy's got like a 6-year. He's like ping, ping.
Oh, I remember.
And then Eddie Murphy's like, shut your ass up, but that's what I was thinking about in my head though. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, this is like just obliterating the competition. It's just like rapid fire greatness. And by the way, this is not black hat. This is not cheating. This is like extremely high quality content. So before DataPins and whatever crap somebody's had and what Google could signal and read, you basically had this template, complete shit website that never got worked on, and at best had links out of Mumbai, India, or some shit, right? And blogging from somebody, at best case scenario, American that wants to blow their head off
for writing all this stuff.
They got an English degree that thought they were going to change the world, that blogs for your plumbing company, blogs that nobody in their right mind ever wants to read. That's the best you could have had. And now you're getting very poignant, we were here, right here. Here's wrapped in Schema, unique photos. Oh, thank you. These have never been seen before, ever. And they're on your website, and we're pretty sure they're related to this page. Thank you for validating your service area. And holy crap, this is extremely good, relevant technical data that relates to your entity of keywords. Holy crap.
Right.
Holy shit.
That makes you the most relevant search result.
It is fantastic. And we do need to champion it and cheerlead it more. So anyway, guys, like and subscribe if you like this stuff.
Hey, 2 in a row.
Thank you, Jason. I'm coming up, man. And give us a call.
We did these for 5 years before we asked anybody to like or subscribe.
We've been busy, man, doing stuff.
Well, my kid watches YouTube, and every video is hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And one day I was thinking, we never do that.
I mean, it's not like we're highly viral or anything. It's not like there's very few people that are interested in this content. But it's extremely relevant to the people that
do watch it.
That do watch it. It's invaluable. But yeah. Anyway, y'all call us when you're ready. We're pretty easygoing about stuff. Love to hear from you. Think you'll be pleasantly surprised with pricing, services, and setup. We can give you examples or answer any questions. We've been doing it for, I guess, 12 to 13 years now, and we are extremely good at it to the point that we own software like DataPins. We'll see you guys.
Take it easy.